this time, I'd like to call the Village of Midlothian special meeting for June 17, 2015 to order. Roll call.
Trustee Gillis.
Here.
Trustee Ivan. Here. Trustee Killelea. Trustee Kreis.
Here.
Trustee LaRue.
Here.
Trustee Moskowitz.
Here.
Mayor Ryback.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Please stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I will open the floor to public comment. If you'd like to address the board, now is the time you may speak. Yes.
Valerie, Weiskirk, resident in Midlothian. For quite a while now, I've had the thought of quitting. Passed through my mind only to be able to shut myself down with the simple question of, what exactly would you be quitting, Valerie? I haven't been able to figure that one out until last week, so I am here tonight to announce I quit. Actually, that sounds really good. Okay, I am quitting my self-imposed role as videographer of these meetings, as I have been a fool for far too long. What I should have been doing is FOIA requesting the audio recordings of these meetings, let alone demanding that these audio recordings be immediately posted to the website the day after the meeting, as there is nothing to be redacted from such recording. Therefore, starting tomorrow, I will be submitting such requests for all meetings that I have missed, including last week's, and I will remain hopeful that there will be no delays or any suggestion the audio recordings were deleted, as such deletions fall under the Local Records Act and not OMA. I will also remain hopeful that reference to the Village Access channel in the agenda under Trustee Ivan's business means that the pure profit Comcast has been drawing from each and every customer who has paid a fee for such services over the past 10 years or so, for this to finally come to an end, and that this government-imposed media blackout ceases to exist forevermore. Any suggestion the public is not interested in viewing these meetings from the comfort of their homes is beyond absurd and will not be tolerated by me ever again. Also, this concerted effort to blockade the use of the microphones absolutely must end tonight. Whether it's by not turning them on, or as in the case of our mayor at this point, the microphone is not even close to your mouth. There is one other point I feel strongly compelled to make tonight, and allow me to start off with a nice, healthy, how dare you, Mayor Ryback. How dare you change tonight's meeting from a regularly scheduled committee meeting to a special meeting? How dare you blatantly and intentionally obstruct the trustees as cited in your email to all of the trustees? How dare you suggest that the 6 people sitting in front of me tonight are somehow too stupid, and you did not use that word, that is my word, to understand legalese, and that they are only capable of absorbing bullet points crafted by a village attorney with a poor track record and then distributed the day before this meeting? How dare you allow for no attachment of the actual contract, even in its draft format, with said bullet points? How dare you even ponder for a moment that this is in the best interest of this village for you to conduct these type of backroom deals with no scrutiny from any of these trustees, especially Trustee Kreis, who is responsible for economic development, let alone any final input from the residents as to what this deal actually consists of? How dare you intentionally set up the trustees tonight to take a hit in the public's eye should they do the right thing tonight and table this issue? How dare you put the village in jeopardy of losing the Ricky Rockets project by attempting to fast track the RDA tonight? Tempting as it is for me to continue with my bullet point list of items, I will instead spare all of us further detail as to why this effort by you, Mayor Ryback, and only you, is beyond absurd and insulting, and I will close on this. Shame on me for not believing you, Mayor Ryback, when you included in your 2014 town hall speech the suggestion that if something doesn't change, Midlothian will become just like Robbins and Harvey. While I was right on target about making the point that it isn't the residents or business owners that pose such a threat, more importantly, I should have taken you seriously. Congratulations, Mayor Ryback, for you, and you alone, just made Midlothian the same as Robbins, at least in terms of the community having a mayor ready, willing, and able to make secret deals with only surface tidbits being made available to the public, as well as those who are responsible for voting on it. The only difference between what you've done and what continues to happen in Robbins is that the two mayors of Robbins have been busy doing backroom dealings relating to a limestone quarry, and you have been busy doing backroom dealings relating to far more than just a diesel fueling station. DART had to stop the deal in Robbins, which was entirely the right call, and the deal is still rightfully stalled as the residents in Robbins continue to entirely be shut out of the process. So should you choose to not apologize to the trustees and the village tonight for your reckless oversight, and that you table this issue yourself, with a promise and a pledge that any and all communications connected with this issue is in each of these trustees' email boxes no later than 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, you will leave me no other option than to invite our OIG office to investigate this matter with a request that the deal be stalled until all of this legalese you think the trustees won't understand can at least be reviewed by an independent body. Please spare the village any more suffering, Mayor Ryback, and resign. But should you choose not to, then I am calling on each and every trustee tonight to begin the discussions of having our mayor censured once and for all. Surely you have been handed sufficient evidence to justify no less than the discussion of such a topic between the $95,000 grant money, between the special favors you've done for village employees, the abuse that you have brought upon other village employees. The list goes on, including meeting minutes that still are not available. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Yes.
Good evening. My name is Ray Leverett, and I was here on last week's board meeting, and I'm coming in reference to Cricket Learning Center located at 3217 West 147th Street. As I stated last week when I came to the meeting, we got permits, we did what we were supposed to do. At that time, they said there was no sprinkler system needed at this location. I'm asking now, and I asked last week. When we first started this process, I spoke with Nicole Faber back in August of last year. She gave the permits, she did what she was, supposedly did what she was supposed to do, but unfortunately we found out that's not what she was supposed to do. We just had a site meeting last week with the mayor, with the fire chief and some other dignitaries to find out exactly what's going on. At this point, I'm asking the village to vote on a waiver for either tell us a time when it'll be a vote or give us some more information just about how we should proceed. We've invested about over $70,000 into this building, and then for us to first get a stop work order, then make that order resume based upon how this sprinkler system is going to work, because we were informed back in August that it was no sprinkler system required by Nicole, and then Nicole's job moved until in March. Then I no longer was able to speak with Nicole. I started speaking with Gwen, who's part of the building department. So I'm asking, as somebody that's bringing revenue to Midlothian, I want to know, when is a vote going to be taking place about a waiver for the sprinkler system, or what we need to do to move this thing forward? Because we're losing money every single day that we don't know what's going on. We're losing money every single day, and we have to have a resolution.
Thank you. We did meet with Ray, and Ray, as soon as we can get a date of and all the finalization of sprinkler systems, we'll get in touch with you and let you know when that date's going to be. Yes.
Madam Mayor, village trustees, I know that there is a ruling on the village books that states that there is a 3-minute, and I do quote, 3-minute time limit not 45 minutes, it has been the past couple meetings. I believe this law, seeing it is on books, I know that for a fact because I went over it one time with Terry, and Chief Burke escorted me out because I was over it. I believe that this ruling should be in effect at all village meetings, so we don't have things carried out and carried out and carried out. And if I understand the ruling right, that also goes for the Magic 6 trustees. Thank you.
Yes.
Jackie Hill, property owner. I'm sure you missed us last week when we weren't here, but we were out doing something very important, and I'd like to let everybody know about it. It concerns a very favorable thing for the village. On June 10th, 2015, Helen Lekovich was recognized by the Women's Initiative as an inspiring and creative leader of Midlothian, a resident action group dedicated to alleviating flooding in the village of Midlothian and wider region. Her efforts began with the organization of the Midlothian 5 in May 2013 to generate awareness of the devastating flooding situation in the village and reaching out to many local, state, and federal organizations for help. Under Helen's leadership, the Midlothian 5 has grown to Team Midlothian, which studies and reports critical flood data, as well as explores short and long-term solutions. Helen and Team Midlothian are highly respected by the Center for Neighborhood Technology, the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, and Cook County Commissioner Deborah Shore for their ongoing contributions to solve urban flooding. Helen was presented with an Inspiring Woman Award pendant designed and handcrafted by an artist, Mary Watson, for this recognition. The Women's Initiative was created by the Itasca Bank and Trust Company 15 years ago and provides informative and educational programs to help women create and maximize wellness in all aspects of life: business, personal, health, and finance. Annually, the bank recognizes women who have exhibited exceptional leadership. So we are very proud to be there. There are over 20 people honored for various kinds of leadership, and this is all volunteer, and that's a good feeling because you don't see too much of that anymore. So it was a very nice affair.
Thank you. We're very proud.
Helen, 147th Street. It's actually kind of embarrassing, that kind of a thing, because what I wanted to say in light of that was that even though it started where I went out walking around the block and knocking on doors and getting tired of doing this by myself, we would be nowhere, and I wished everybody with me could have received something, because the day I knocked on Mary Helen's door and Theta's door and Kathy Caveney and even Ruben, although he's not an inspiring woman, Chris Parker, we would be nowhere without them. But I thought that all the stories we listened to that night, what really was significant was how people changed their community. And it was really impressive, to see how people affected their communities or the institutions that they were there for. So, moving on, we had a flood Monday, and it was a little bit upsetting to me that there was absolutely no emergency management out there. And so if Public Works is supposed to handle, the problems, they can't stand out there and manage what is going on for safety reasons. And I personally think that there was residents at risk, as well as probably 3 dozen cars that have no idea what they're going into, and children that are playing in water up to their waist not knowing about the current. So while it was a Hawks game, it's pretty irrelevant because I don't get to pick and choose. I'm tired of hearing people tell me they're busy or they got too much on their minds or on their hands or on their schedules, or that they have parties, because I'm the only person in this entire village that doesn't get to go anywhere I want, when I want, and I've missed very important things to be everywhere I had to be. So I do expect that there should be something put into place for safety reasons, and going back into photos years ago, you know, police and fire used to come out there. So if there is no volunteer emergency management, there definitely should be somebody appointed. I have a picture of two boys that were crossing the street that were up to their waist in water, and I don't think that that was safe. So it's a good thing that we were there, but we're not the emergency management people. And as far as the 3-minute rule goes, it's unfortunate that some of us have had to wait over 20 or 30 years coming here. So I think, you know, you might want to consider what we have had to donate in time to come here, and maybe just be a little bit lenient and consider what we have had to wait for and the amount of time we've had to dedicate. So thanks.
Yes.
Helen, you said emergency management was not out Monday.
No,
Would you like me to contact the Blue Island Dispatch, have Chief Kaufman or Chief Hot Wagner contact the Blue Island Dispatch? Or they will tell you I went on the air at 2000 hours, which is 8 p.m. And I was on the air until 0300 hours the next morning.
on the air?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm talking about in the street. Did you know about the kids that were walking down in the ditch
Ma'am.
up to their waist?
Do you realize how big this village is? Do you realize how many barricades myself, the gentleman from Public Works, have to go out and put every night? Are you out there moving the trees that fall down?
Actually, yes, I am. I was the emergency
Helen,
management
you-
that night, and you know what? All I said was
You
we
don't
need to
even
get something in
own
place.
that
We're not
simple.
debating this, it's comments.
So get,
There's a whole video of that
get
evening.
your shit straight, Helen.
Chuck?
Yeah, be professional and don't lie. We have an entire video of no emergency management being
Alan,
there.
that's
Plenty.
enough. I don't want to escort you out of here.
Okay. Great.
Thank you, Chief.
Are there any more comments
Joke.
from the public?
I'd like to speak.
How you doing, Mayor Ryback, trustees? For those of you that don't know me, my name's Joseph Chimney. I've lived in this town for about 15 years. Chose as a place to raise my family. Kind of want to shake things up a little bit. There's a lot of negativity going on in this room. I personally would like to thank you, Mayor Ryback, and the trustees for giving up your time and doing what you do to try to make this village a better place. I personally, from the bottom of my heart, I thank all of you up there. I feel air prepared here. I don't have bullet points like the camera lady did, but what I'm gonna do is speak from the heart. And I seen something on this list, and I've heard all about it. And tonight you're gonna discuss redevelopment of the Ricky Rocket project at 147th and Cicero. Like I said earlier, I've been here 15 years. That lot's been vacant for just about all of it, I think. Then a couple years after I moved in, the last car dealership closed down there. I'm talking, I got the floor, thank you. Anyway, you guys are gonna talk about this, you're gonna vote on it tonight. Let's put something on that property. Please, finally, we have somebody that wants to invest and put money in this village and bring tax revenue into here. Let's lead them the way. Please, I ask you guys to consider this. I've heard negativity talking about truck drivers and what they bring. Look around you, people. This is a blue-collar town. I'll bet you half of it is truck drivers. And we're going to tell them they're not welcome in our town? If there's a problem of they're going to bring prostitutes or they're going to sell drugs, Chief, I tell you guys to do your job. Stop it from happening. Please, from the bottom of my heart, I ask you, put something on that corner for my taxes can stop going up. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to address the board? If not at this time, I will close the floor to public comment, and we'll move on to trustee business. Trustee Price.
Brief update. I did receive a recommendation from Weaver Consultants today for the Illinois Green Infrastructure construction. I will have that on the agenda next week for the board's approval. I'll provide you with the documentation. I think that's about all I have on grant updates. Second item, right-way redevelopment, and a lot has happened since I put that on the agenda. I did send the board a copy of Attorney Gleason's email that he sent to me on Friday after the board had discussed at our last meeting to grant the Class A on all of the pins on the property. I received a phone call Monday evening from Chase Dickon at Brightway asking me to join a meeting yesterday with Mayor Ryback and Trustee Hillary. So as a result of that meeting, to bring everybody up to speed, we talked about incentives, and they want not only a Class 8, they want some type of sales tax sharing. So we talked about the Class 8, and Trustee Hillary's recommendation was to have them combine all of the pins into one pin, and that way the entire parcel would then be eligible for a Class 8. Is that correct, Attorney Lindsay?
The portion of it that's being redeveloped will be eligible, so the new building will be eligible to be considered as Class 8, but not necessarily all, the land will not.
And we talked about your memo specifically. If the board approved everything they own, it's up to the county then to either approve it or deny it. Is that correct?
Correct. The board is required by the county ordinance to pass a resolution saying that they support the Class 8 application, and they're required to make the findings that are set forth in the county ordinance with respect to that.
Okay, so I guess again, I'm not, if you're saying that, then even if I'm combining the pins, they could only do it on the new construction portion.
What I'm saying is that under the county's ordinance, if the land isn't vacant, which their property is not vacant, so if you're gonna go under, they're doing a substantial rehabilitation of the property, which they are, the way that the county's ordinance reads is that the Class 8 treatment will only apply to the assessment of the building improvements. So the land, the Cook County assessor assesses both the value of the land and the buildings that are on the property. So what the assessor will do is they will apply a different assessment rate to the improvements on the building.
I can take that back to them. I don't want them to go away. They did send an email to the mayor and myself today, and I've been emailing them back and forth. They did provide sales figures also, and Don, they didn't copy you on that, I sent it to you. So I guess I'm looking to the board, and just so I want to give you some other information. Whenever I have questions about these type of developments, I contact the Premier Economic Development Director, probably in the state of Illinois, and that's Ivan Baker, who's the Economic Development Director for Tinley Park. And I had a lengthy conversation with Ivan yesterday, who said, you know, you've got to do the Class 8 because of the property tax situation in Cook County, but now you're saying we're going to be limited by that. And I don't think there's any way we can get around that.
Because the property's not vacant, that's the problem.
Okay, is there any other, would any of the other county incentives work to their benefit? And 6B, I think, is industrial.
It is. No. You could abate property taxes.
That would be another option. That would have to be-
Only abating our portion.
Correct, you only have the lawful
The village
authority to abate your portion.
Okay, I mean, I guess I could reach out to them. I'm looking for input from the board. The other thing that I want to let the board know, I mean, Ivan told me really to get any development off the ground, you've got to deal with the Class 8 because of the property tax situation in Cook County. You know, he talked about TIFs are great and other things are great, but you really have to do the Class 8 development successful because of the property tax. But he also said when, in rare occasions, they have done both a Class 8 and a sales tax sharing. Rare. They have an incentive agreement. It took them years to develop. It is on their website. I did not get time to look at it today. but they will only do sales tax sharing over $5 million. You must have a $5 million sales tax base. He said, now yours might be different, because they have 1,400 businesses in Tinley Park. So I guess I'm looking for direction from the board. They think that they can really increase their sales. And Don, when I saw these figures today, they were much higher than
Well,
what.
they had told me before 3.9 million they had done up to that year, which that letter confirms that. He just forgot what he told me.
Right.
You know, I thought that they were surprisingly not prepared for a lot of their issues. And that seems to jive with what they're telling me, that they project out to what, Karen, 3.9 million for the whole year?
For this year?
Yeah. Yeah, the first,
No, 9.4.
yeah, the first 4 months are not good months because most of them are winter. So, you know, they think they can do 9.4 million this year without anything. And of course, the building they feel is going to help them. Building, landscaping, and also have a cut in the road so that people can directly access the property without going through the road. That's going to help them immensely. So they have a tremendous selection of cars. Right Way is a very, I would say, use the word premier used car, a new car operator in the Midwest. So, you know, the problem is how do we make it work? You know, that's the biggest problem. How do you make this work for them? They told us that they, you know, have to have a certain return on investment, otherwise their owner is not going to invest. The building, which the property, they've gone from 100,000, 250,000, 500,000, depending upon what they, so we asked them for a rendering and sort of a sketch of a rendering of what they were doing, because, you know, originally it was a $100,000 building, and then the meeting went from 250, and then they talked about 500,000. So it's like, what are you guys talking about? So the mayor asked them for a rendering to try to figure that all out. But at this point, you know, I think we have to tell them that if they think they can get a Class 8 from the county, they should talk to the assessor and, you know, talk about that issue with the assessor and see what they find out. And if they find out that what we think we know, that the county will never approve that because it's not vacant property, then there has to be another way of making this work somehow. You know, we don't want to lose them. You know, it's basically $9 million, means $90,000 worth of sales tax revenue for the village, plus what, you know, they paid, what did you say, Karen, last year? How much taxes did they pay?
I get the figures, I think 87,000.
87,000 total.
Close to 90,000.
In
Right.
property taxes, I had printed everything off of the Midlothian County tax portal, and they said they had paid about 100,000, and so I went through to verify it, and they were close. They were close. They're paying a lot of property taxes on that property. You've got to sell a lot of cars to cover the property taxes. Okay, so I promised Greg that I would get back to him tomorrow, and I just want to, so what I'm hearing is they could go back to the assessor to see about the Class 8, and I'm not doubting what the attorney is telling us is correct, but I think they keep going back to this Class 8 thing, and maybe if they hear it from the assessor himself.
I thought that was kind of the direction we gave them, is get a hold of the assessor and find out what they're going to say about it.
So I will tell them to contact the assessor, again confirming Attorney Gleason's legal opinion. We could definitely do a Class 8 on the building improvements. So that would be item number 2. Item number 3 is based on that, based on the fact that we may not be able to do a Class 8, the village would consider a possible property tax abatement. Yes? Okay. And then what about sales tax sharing? Because they didn't want, we talked about setting a base and having sharing above the base, and they wanted it on everything. So that's what I need board direction from.
They really think you can increase that much sales because of these improvements?
They talked about other locations they can sell 20 to 25 cars more per month, and it also raises their average sales substantially. They think they could do very well in Midlothian. They think this is a great location. It's one of the few that out of their 20, what they say, out of their 26 locations, I think we're number 25 or 26 that they've approved for the new building or remodeled what they had. They, and personally, I don't doubt it. I think they have a tremendous selection there. Their big problem is that whole setup, like you said, that it's not friendly, not customer friendly, I mean, it doesn't look like anything.
It looks like the place where you tow the cars to.
Right, and they don't like it either. And they don't like it either. And the strange part about it is this is the headquarters to supply the other two lots, Joliet and Villa Park also. So, it's something that they want to upgrade too, and they think they can substantially increase their sales. And again, our initiative for the village is going to be to advertise that there's going to be 8 or 9 locations for used car dealers with hopefully two premier used car dealers again, and Bill Kay and some other, Cars 147, some other good car dealers too, and we think we can attract a lot of buyers to Midlothian and also get some revenue off of that. But the big thing is how, and we don't want to lose money off of what we're getting now. That's a big problem. You don't want to take it less money, give them an incentive and have them, you come up with less money than you gave before.
Well, that's why I suggested yesterday that we run this past Kane and McKenna, since we have them, and get their advice on it as well. They'll make sure that the RDA is a win-win for both sides.
Well, Bill, they also have the knowledge too to give them projections as far as what they could get out of Class 8, is that right? Do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, they were very confused about what they would say about a Class 8 also.
Yeah.
And I was trying to help them a little bit, but I'm not a Class 8 expert, so maybe that's a start in saying, okay, as it stands now with our legal opinion, here's what you could save over the 12 years of your Class 8.
Okay.
And I'd be happy to share that information with them as we try to keep moving forward. Again, a number of emails today that I had with them back and forth, and I really want to let them know that we are engaged in this process. We stressed yesterday that we want to work with them and keep them in town, and we want them to sell more cars because if they make more money, the village will make more money. And I think we have to be very careful about the sales tax sharing, especially after the discussion I had with Ivan Maker yesterday. And I've heard that from other towns too. Oftentimes, they will only have a sales tax sharing over the current base. That's an incentive for them to sell more cars because again, we don't want to lose money. So, but I guess I will tell them tomorrow is that the board.
Yeah, the rest of
Pardon me?
the rest of the board have anything to say? Because you and me have been talking.
And I'm looking for input. I'm filling you in on the discussions yesterday.
Setting a limit always sounds good. Once they achieve a certain goal, and then maybe doing something to share with them at that point in time.
Right,
Would
the
be
base.
ideal. Yeah. In any other situation, I don't think it'd be worth it. Without that type of goal set that they can shoot for.
I'm curious if they do not receive the Class 8, if they're still going to move forward with the new building.
Well, I think, Jerry, that's where we would come in, they could do the Class 8 on the one pin that the building would be on, and then we would have to structure maybe an abatement on the other pins. We'd have to structure something else, because we certainly don't want to lose them. And I want them to know that the board's thinking of other options to keep them here. Anything else? So I'll let them know that the board is, we're looking at numbers as far as sales tax share, and I'm going to keep it general, okay? And again, we all know how this works. They're going to ask for everything, and we have to keep going back and forth and negotiating with them. You know that between us. Okay, and just two more updates. Tomorrow morning at 9:30, we will be meeting in this room at 9:30 for the Rain Ready meeting. We have I sent the agenda out today to the the members. It's quite a lengthy agenda. We will be submitting 2 more grant applications. One is for a complete streets plan, which is due on, I believe, June 26th. A big thank you to Mary DeBacher from Center for Neighborhood Technology, who really assisted in writing that grant. And we will be submitting a local technical assistance request to CMAP for a 147 feasibility study that Center for Neighborhood Technology authored, and I read it, and it's awesome. I really think we have a really good chance of awards for both of those. And last item, the Veterans Committee met here Monday evening. Discussion was about the parade. Again, if anybody's interested, I have forms to fill out if you want to participate. I have flyers, and it looks like we are going to have probably a record number of military vehicles in this year's parade. So, again, the Veterans Committee's worked very hard to honor our veterans, and I invite everybody to either participate in the parade or come out and watch the parade. And that is all I have this evening.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Ida?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a change order for a fire hydrant replacement program that we're in the process of doing. I don't know if we need to discuss it to approve a change order to an existing contract. It has to deal with the $60,000 that you acquired.
Right, and we had agreed as a board, because there was going to be leftover money, it has to be used to do fire hydrants.
Right.
And I believe we recommended 2 more. So
It's a total of 3 more.
A total of 3 more? Okay, then it changed even again. So what we'll do is you can put that on the agenda for next week for approval to do the change orders.
Okay. Thank you. I also wanted to talk about the village, possibility of a village access channel. I'm looking for, I guess, direction or confirmation on what we think about it in particular. I see the village access channel being another communication vehicle to the residents of Midlothian in regards like Code Red and like our electronic newsletter, where we could have like a PowerPoint presentation type of situation where we would flash on this access channel information, dangerous situations, flood conditions, any kinds of numerous information that is pertinent to the voters and to the residents. We have the ability, once we've established the channel, that AT&T Universe has to copy it. So technically, we would have it both on Comcast and AT&T. I believe it's a federal law. So basically, I'm looking for confirmation, I guess, would be the term I guess I'm looking for. What do we think about developing an access channel where we could have that kind of information in real time?
I personally love the idea, and since it's part of the contract with Comcast that we get the channel, we should at least try to use it. Do we have to pay for the equipment, the video, the?
Well, we need to initiate a conversation with Comcast first. So we need a letter from the mayor, because she is our designated contact person through Comcast, has to go to Comcast to either designate somebody as our Comcast person, or you would have to handle it yourself to start negotiations with Comcast to see what kind of equipment we'll get, where our access point is to the network, which would be kind of critical, because if the access point isn't in the building, it probably might cost some money for that.
We need a resolution or just a letter signed by the mayor?
Just a letter from the mayor would be sufficient to either proclaim somebody as the person, or you would take over that role.
I was going to say, would you mind taking over the position of working with Comcast and getting the figures and all the pertinent details? I can give you the
I
authorization.
wouldn't mind it at all.
Okay, I'll write the letter tomorrow and get it to you.
Thank you. I think that's it. Oh, Godbucks, yes. Well, that's his area.
Oh, go ahead, you can take it. You're the,
I'm the flower guy. Saturday, 11 to 4 o'clock. Tickets at sale at 10 o'clock, though, if 10:30. At the Village Green, for the garden walk, it's $5. It should be an interesting event to walk around the village and see all the little pretty gems that we have in Midlothian. So again, Saturday, 11 to 4.
Okay, great, thanks. Trustee Gillis.
Yes, I want to let the board know that we're going to attempt to reinitiate our safety committee meetings on Tuesday afternoons if that works for our department heads or designees. IPMG is going to come out again and sort of just keep us up to speed on any safety issues we may have within the village. So I'm going to tentatively talk to Mark and get that set up for the third Tuesday of each month, starting in July. We'll cover the beautification committee. Hopefully everything's going to work out nice and they have a nice day.
Should be perfect.
I do want to give a throw recap on some problems we did have between 144th and 145th. Carla, there were some pest issues there in the alley and backyards of the residents. Our health inspector, Mr. Myatt, had to issue some tickets of the business owners regarding the alleyway there. It has been corrected. The alley's been extremely clean, and they have baited the area where there are some businesses that have dumpsters behind them that handle food. So he's on top of that, the building department's on top of that, and we won't have a relapse in that. And you guys were given a copy of the May health report. We'll continue to do that with the building department reports. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee LaRue.
Yes, ma'am. Give everyone a copy of the fire department's monthly report. Get that on the consent agenda next week. It highlights 124 medical calls last month, 46 for ALS, 44 for BLS. They monthly billing amount is $74,413, and they received $23,476. So year to date, for the year to date billing was $74,413. Total monthly billing amount was $74,413, but the year to date was $74,413.
That's right, because it just started in May. The fiscal year just started.
That is right.
That would be correct.
Julie,
Little help.
1 month.
That's good. Give everyone a copy of a quote from MES. The manifold hose that the fire department uses to fill the air packs needs to be replaced. Testing the air packs. So I need that on the agenda for next week for approval. So $1,300. We need certified air packs there. What else do we got? Email from Chief Hotminer, the batteries on 2712, which he politely put in parentheses for me because I'm not sure which one 2712 is the new ambulance that we purchased from Manhattan. Needs new batteries, 3 of them, at the total cost of $312. They're 5 years old, so they need to be replaced. That doesn't need board approval. $300.
I just gave it to you.
Okay. So everyone knows they need replaced. There is an issue with the placement of the vacuum hose for the exhaust system on the ambulances because the ambulances exhaust system is on an incorrect side. Chief Hotwagner and Deputy Chief Mager are looking into, and Deputy Chief Reed are looking into maybe swapping out, changing the way the exhaust flows on the ambulances because moving the actual vacuum tubes is very expensive. So they're working hard at getting that done. So that'll be coming up soon. The stuff we approved last week, I think it was, the TNT tools are getting their maintenance done, and everything else was approved for getting work done. What else? I was not sure where we stand on the insurance claim for fireman Charskis' equipment. They got damaged in the fire.
Well, I'm still waiting for approval from IPMG is whether or not they're going to replace or just repair. So I haven't gotten a response yet.
All right. And I wanted to get a clarification on the vehicle policy, specifically the mileage report. I'm not sure. In the fire department, they respond to calls out of town all the time. We're not asking them to put the mileage on there for their fire calls out.
No, not for a fire call. It was to go to out-of-town meetings. I think that was the intent of the form.
What if they're going out of town to buy parts for their equipment and stuff? That's not required to. If they're on duty doing job-related stuff, it's not.
Right. The key to that policy is the starting monthly mileage and the ending monthly
So we just want to
mileage.
do a monthly mileage.
And I believe, I'm not prepared, I didn't bring the policy. I believe there was a caveat in there about out-of-town trips. I'd be listed if they were over 25 miles. I'll have to go back, I didn't bring the policy tonight, I didn't know that was gonna come up for a question.
I just wanted to clarify, because some of their fire calls are more than 20 miles. They're
But if it's a fire call, that wouldn't count.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that
They
wouldn't
don't-
count.
Do we want to just do a monthly mileage report?
Let me go look at the policy and the form again,
But
okay?
it clearly says trips outside of Midlothian.
Okay.
So I just want to know.
Probably needs to be
Makes
clarified.
more sense to do just a monthly mileage report.
Let me clarify it, okay? We can talk about it, okay?
All right.
All right.
And I believe that's all I have. So I went over 3 minutes.
Trustee Gilliland?
We have a finance committee meeting tomorrow, 3:30. Subject is the 2016 budget. That's the only thing on the agenda. We'll see what we can do with that. My predecessor, Trustee Maskell and Nicole Faber, have been working on updating the timekeeping system. It's very antiquated. Each department has a little different system, and it's kind of hard to keep track of what's going on a lot of times, and needs updating to at least to the 19th century or something. But we're trying to do it, trying to do the timekeeping system on the computer. And so she's looked at some vendors for that and talked to us today on a conference call, Alan and myself. And appears one of the vendors and one of the top candidates is Paylocity. Sounds good, sounds like the most cost effective, but we want to run it by two key people that have to deal with it all the time. Kim Monger and Brian also, in command, and also the department heads to make sure we haven't missed everything. Probably get a demonstration of how it works, what it could do. It does cost money, but it has the potential to save a lot of employee time that they have to manually enter a lot of things now. And basically, with this new system, they won't have to enter a darn thing. It would all be done automatically, and probably a little more, definitely more seamlessly. And we have to pay a little bit of money up front. There's going to be there's going to be a yearly maintenance fee, but it has the potential to do our payroll automatically, also update Locus automatically with our payroll figures. So could be a good thing if we get the go-ahead from the department heads and our payroll and finance people, then we'll talk more about it to the board. And lastly, there seems to be some sort of lack of clarity on Nicole Faber's job description. She does have one, but I think there's some confusion on what she's supposed to be doing. And so we want to try to look at that job description, maybe rewrite it so that everybody's clear about what Nicole's job is, and also the procedures for how she's authorized to do work on the part of the trustees. And we'll work on that shortly and talk about that with the board, because the board is some of the people who authorizes Nicole to do some work for them. So we'll work on that. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee Maskell?
Yes, Mayor, 3 items. I received an email from Chief Kaufman regarding the hiring of another community service officer. As you are aware, with the appointment of Ken Hoffman to full-time officer, this has left a vacancy of one of our 2 CSO positions. I would like approval to begin the search to hire another person to fill that empty position. So I would ask the board to consider that approval so that Chief Kaufman can begin the search. Okay with that? Also, on the topic of the police department, I do want to thank our officers. I hope I've heard from a number of residents, I'm sure a number of people here have noticed the additional presence in the neighborhoods, particularly around the railroad tracks while the construction's going on. And so I appreciate their efforts in trying to keep people speeding through the neighborhoods and going through stop signs. And then lastly, one other thing, Trustee Kill, you mentioned a discussion we had with Nicole today regarding the timekeeping system. It occurred to me how many things there are. We've been working through transition of new roles. But I think a number of people, everybody in the village should have received one of these postcards. We've talked about it at the board meetings before we actually approved the expenditure to mail those out. I got an email from Nicole on Monday morning that from the time they went out Thursday until Monday morning, we had between 65 and 70 new people sign up for e-billing. Each one of those will save us some money. And I don't have the exact number with me, but the majority of those that signed up were individuals who were not already paying their bill online. So I think these did the job that they were intended to do. We targeted people who might not have known we were accepting bills online. That is all I have tonight.
And if I could just piggyback on that, today I received an email that my water bill was debited from my checking account, and it's really nice. I have it set up automatically. I don't have to go in and do anything now. So I highly recommend it.
Under my business, I am looking for the approval of the redevelopment agreement with Ricky Rockets at 147th Street. I've been working with, as you know, for the last couple of months, working with Rick Heidner and his team and our attorney and their attorneys, and also with Kana McKenna. And we received approval on Monday in the late afternoons from Kana McKenna saying that they had reviewed the RDA and would sign off on it. And we finally got all the legals and all the T's crossed, all the I's dotted, and I did provide you all with a copy of the actual RDA this afternoon after I received it from our attorney, who had just received it back from Heidner's attorney. It seems once you ask an attorney to get involved, if you tell them they have 5 hours to come to an agreement and write something, they're going to use 4 minutes, 59 minutes, or 4 hours, 59 minutes, and 59 seconds before you're going to get it back. But they did get it done, and they did get it to us.
Does it, we concur with that?
I don't.
I can't speak for all attorneys.
So I would be looking for the approval of the redevelopment agreement with Ricky Rockets for 147th and Cicero.
Could I just make a comment?
Sure.
At this point, and Mr. Chimney, you're still here, and I just want to, I don't know that there's anybody on the board that's against the development. I just want to clarify something, as the mayor just alluded to. This was emailed to me today around 1:04 or 1:05 this afternoon. It's a 55-page document, and it's very complicated reading. Would you agree, Mr. Gleason, Attorney Gleason? It's not an easy read.
But since you've been involved in the conversation, did you not receive a synopsis of it prior to receiving that 55-page report?
I believe this was received yesterday. However, I'm not going to vote on anything until I totally understand it. I think that's what every board member owes our residents. I was not available to start reading this today until 4:30 this afternoon. So I did read it, and had I had ample time, I would have went through it and read it a second time, because I think that's what it deserves. So I do have questions. Mrs. Gleason, you're shaking your head. I think that
I've lived in that corner for 11 years and looked at that blank property. If you lose this contract, I say shame on all of you.
I'm saying that this.
Shame on all of you.
Mrs. Gleason, you're out of order, please.
Thank you. She
I
addressed me,
I just want the residents to know that I take this very seriously. And if you're asking me to vote on it, I need to read it. And I just feel the board was not given ample time today to thoroughly vet this, and I do have some questions, and I, hopefully Attorney Gleason can answer the questions. I don't know if any of the other board members have similar comments.
I have not yet received the document or read the document, so I'm concur with Karen.
You didn't receive it?
No, I didn't receive it yet.
I sent it at 1 o'clock this afternoon.
Yeah, but you have to log on and get it all, and all that, that's a major requirement. I had no time between 1 o'clock and 7 o'clock to acquire the document. Especially 50 pages.
I did receive the document. I have some questions that I'm sure the attorney could answer. Now the time to do that.
I would see it would be, yes.
Okay. Is there an issue, there's reference in the document to supporting the Class 8? Will we run into the same issue considering there are no buildings currently on the property?
No, the Class 8 is specifically designed for a property that's been vacant in excess of 24 months, which that property has, so it's eligible.
So the building is not,
There's
no,
no, not.
okay.
It's vacant.
And I understand that the repayment of the TIF note, the $500,000 TIF note, the new share percentage is 50-50 instead of 75?
It's 50-50 during the period of time that the Class 8 incentive is in effect. So at that point, the way that the agreement is set up, when the Class 8 incentive is in effect, there is a threshold of $30,000 that has to go into the TIF. And then any amounts earned by the TIF in excess of that $30,000 guarantee would be split 50-50 for the 12-year period that the Class 8 incentive is in effect. And then when the Class 8 incentive expires in 12 years, then the share would change to the 75-25.
And then my last question was in regards to the landscaping requirement. Karen, you or Gary are probably more familiar with this given the streetscape plan. But it specifically referred to a 4-foot landscaping zone and a 5-foot sidewalk located 2 feet off of Cicero and off of 147th Street. Is that consistent with the streetscape plan that we put on? Okay.
Yeah, that's where I got the language from the streetscape plan.
Perfect,
that you
okay.
guys provided.
It sounded right, I just couldn't remember the dimensions. And then I noticed there is also the requirement about a sound barrier wall, but they're not specific to the height.
They're not specific to the height, they're specific to the decibel volume, so.
To determine by
Their sound engineer, they have to submit a plan for it.
Okay. Thank you.
You, Chris?
I have a couple questions. The village shall rebate 1/2 or 1%, whichever is lower. What do you mean?
Could you reference the page numbers,
I'm
because
sorry.
I might have the.
3.3A.
If you.
Okay, on the page.
2.38, he's talking about the sales tax.
Page
Yeah.
It's designed to make sure that if you guys increase, if you guys decided to increase your home rule sales tax, they wouldn't get additional money from it. So it's capped at what it is now. So it's half of the home rule sales tax, just on the sale of gasoline on that property, up to the limit.
And it says this rebate shall be included in the price for the gasoline charged to consumers.
Right. So they're supposed to reflect the savings to the people that buy gas at their station.
But over here, we're supposed to pay them on a quarterly basis.
Mhm.
If they're getting rebate by not.
They get the money back, so they're supposed to make the gas cheaper.
Gotcha. One more question? I don't know if it's a question, more concern. The village agrees that during the term of the agreement, the village will not provide, agree to, or permit any TIF or sales tax incentives to be paid to any other developer for property within the TIF area whose primary function or operation is commercial sale of gasoline.
Correct, so you're agreeing that you're not going to give a TIF incentive to somebody else that comes on as a gas station because they don't want anybody that close to them in the TIF zone.
Just storage in the TIF?
No. And this would only apply to people that come in subsequent to them.
Right.
New people asking for, new businesses asking.
So if a new gas station wanted to come in next door to them, we wouldn't give them a TIF incentive.
Be highly unlikely.
I would think so, I don't think the
Although
gas
you
station.
have to stick to one part. And I guess one more stave off what we have with the domino deal, I don't really see anything here about if he sells the property in the future, he does not personally get the incentives like Mr. Domino.
No, the way that he's got to come to you and ask permission to transfer the property. So he's got to ask your permission. At that time, he would tell you how the incentive would, how he would want the incentive to work, and the board would have to sign off on it. And the board did sign off on that transfer to Mr. Domino.
I know.
So Mr. Hyder would have to come and ask you for that permission as well.
I have a question regarding page 17, 7.3, the last sentence. May just be me not understanding it or a typo. The budget report, the last sentence says 45 days to the execution of the agreement, but then on page 48 it says it should be 45 days from closing. We should probably make it closing to 90 days to close.
It should be closing. So the budget is due, they have 90 days to close, and then they have 45 days to provide you with the budget that demonstrates that they're going to make the minimum guaranteed investment of $13 million into the property. So that will be included in that financial report, so that should say.
Should say closing that.
Closing, correct.
Similar to what's on page 48.
Yeah, 48 is the development schedule, correct, that's what it should be.
Are you done? Because I have questions. We actually, a comment correction on page 2 at the bottom, we have city treasurer, it should be minor, it should be village treasurer, so we're not a city. And then let me dig through my questions. On page 7, when you have here, 2,540,000 sales incentive, the cap. That's everything? Is that class 8? Is it, no, I want to know what's included in that cap.
Okay, so the way the sales tax share is set up in this agreement is to give 1% or 1/2 of the home rule sales tax collected just for the retail, the commercial sale of gasoline on the property. So once we've shared $2,540,000 with Mr. Heidner, he's not entitled to any more sales tax sharing above that cap.
So that's just for the sales tax?
Yes, ma'am.
That's just for the sales tax?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
What's this said, or said maximum period permitted by law?
It's whatever the municipal code limits the period of time that you can have a sales tax sharing agreement. It's currently 15 years. So if he doesn't hit that number by 15 years, this part of the agreement is over.
The other thing that jumped out at me, and I just want to make sure the board is cognizant of this fact, it starts at the bottom of page 6. It is understood and agreed by the parties that the rights and obligations of the parties shall continue in the event that the home rule sales taxes are repealed or otherwise diminished. So we're on the hook for the 2.5 million,
No.
correct? No?
No.
No?
No, if you repeal the home rule sales tax, there's no more sales tax sharing.
Okay. Okay, wait, then I gotta read this.
That's to protect you.
Okay. Again, I would have read it the second time,
No, it's
but
okay.
I did not have time today.
I agreed with your earlier statement that it's a complex document.
Thank you. I mean, it is, when you're trying to really read it before the meeting. Okay. So if somehow home rule is repealed, that part goes away.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is that how everybody else is reading it? Okay. Another question I have, and it might just be in here, because he has to provide an accounting, the way I read it, he's got, the incentives are based on what he's putting into the property.
Correct. That's how Kane McKenna is working it from an economic perspective, is they're looking at what the investment is and then what the reasonable return on investment would be for him, and what type of assistance he would need in order to invest the sums of money that he's saying that he's going to invest into the property.
Okay, so here would be my question, and actually I was hoping Kane McKenna could be here tonight. he has a contract to purchase the property. So part of the incentive is based on the purchase price.
Correct.
Correct? Okay. What happens if now he negotiates that purchase price downward?
I don't think he can. He's got a contract with binding with those folks, and I did speak with Mr. Hoekstra, and it's my understanding that they're not changing the purchase price of that property, and the purchase price of the property is between 1.3 to 1.5 million dollars above what the two banks we spoke to have said to us they think the fair market value of the property is. Cook County thinks the fair market value of the property is $730,000, yet Mr. Hyde is purchasing it for $2.8 million. So he's overpaying for the land is the long and the short of it, which is part of the reason that the agreement is giving him some TIF funds to assist him with the acquisition cost for the property, which is a reimbursable expense under TIF.
But what happens now? For some reason, he goes back and he gets the property for $2.1 million.
Okay.
Does it change the,
No.
because we're basing the incentives on purchase price of $2.8 million.
It's part of what you're basing it on, correct, but if he negotiates it down, he still has to invest $13 million into the project. So whether it's tied up in the price he pays for the land or the price that he puts into the construction of the premises, he still has to invest a minimum of $13 million in order to get the incentives.
Okay, next question. We keep talking here about somebody's going to review the requisitions that are submitted. Who's going to review these requisitions for appropriateness?
Kane County.
Kane County, okay. I'm not done. I gotta keep
And
it.
it's actually much easier because the incentive, the only reimbursement he can get for under the agreement is for the purchase of land.
Right.
He's not entitled to any other TIF eligible expenses he's not getting on pursuant to this agreement. So he can only get it for land acquisition.
I got
And
that.
I know what he's paying for that. So,
Okay.
the submittal of costs is not gonna be as complex under this agreement.
Okay, here's, and maybe I just don't understand it, page 25. Under conveyance, it says, developers shall not knowingly undertake to convey the property to persons whose ownership and use of such property will cause it to be exempt from payment of property taxes, parentheses, except for senior citizen or homeowner exemptions. Why would that be in there? Commercial, they wouldn't be entitled to senior or homeowner exemption.
Those are just exemptions. I don't know if they could be eligible for commercial. I'd have to double check. But it's basically, the major part of it is that they cannot sell it to anybody who's not going to pay property taxes. They obviously can't sell it to anybody who's going to use it for residential purposes because it's not zoned for that. So.
Right, so I guess I was not clear why that was in there. It's kind of confusing. It says except for senior. It almost makes it sound like they could get an exemption, which they can't.
Well, the major thing that you're trying to guard against is he goes and sells the property to a church or somebody else who pays no property taxes. That's completely exempt. So that's what you're trying to guard against.
Okay. You want see if I've got any. There's here. And then we will also have to have an ordinance at some point, correct?
Correct. There's an ordinance to approve it.
I'm sorry?
There's an ordinance to approve it.
Yeah, but it's not here, right? We don't have the ordinance.
Should be the ordinance. I sent it to Mike.
Okay, but we don't have it, it's not on the agenda. There's no ordinance on the agenda.
And the ordinance is for the approval of the agreement, which is what's on the agenda.
Oh, it just said to approve, okay, approval of the development agreement.
Yeah. The ordinance is saying you're approving the agreement. That's what it says.
Okay. I think that's all I have. Anybody else, any other questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the redevelopment agreement.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee LaRue?
Aye.
Trustee Maskell?
Aye.
Trustee Gillis?
Aye.
Trustee Ivan?
Abstain.
Pardon?
Abstain.
Trustee Killilee.
Present.
Trustee Kreis.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Do you have anything under clerk's business?
I have nothing.
Nothing. At this time, with no further business to come before the board, at 8:10, I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, board.